اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم واكرمنا بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن علومك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. My brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is a very special night. Tonight, for the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, when it comes to the 7th of Muharram, traditionally speaking, we remember the sacrifice of the brother of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and the son of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We remember the sacrifice of the most loyal and courageous Abu Fadl al-Abbas, a man who we all seem to be so attracted to out of his humility his whole life. He never called Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam his brother. He knew that he was born for a specific reason. Imam Ali alayhi salam had known of the prophecy of Karbala, and he wanted a warrior to be with the son of Fatima when the son of Fatima was to meet his destiny. He wanted a warrior to represent him. The same Haydar that was in Khaybar, the same Haydar that was in Uhud, the same Haydar that was in Khandaq, he wanted that Haydar to be in Karbala, but he knew he wouldn't be there. So he looked for a woman that came from a warrior tribe, whose brothers and uncles and fathers and ancestors were all warriors, known as lions. And he married this woman, al-Baneen. Her name was Fatima, but she never accepted to be called Fatima because she knew that her children and the children of Fatima, whenever they would hear her name, it may pain their heart. So she told them to call her by another title. When Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam was born, Imam Ali took him into his arms and kissed his hands because he knew the fate of this baby. He trained this baby until its adulthood. This baby became a man that represented Imam Ali alayhi salam in Siffin. And Imam Ali was so proud of him. He was a large man, an intimidating man, a courageous man, but a very humble man. He would not speak even if his older brothers were present. He wouldn't speak in front of Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. He only called them Mawlai. He never regarded himself as worthy of them. He never regarded himself as an equal, even though he's the son of Ali bin Abi Talib. And Imam Ali had a special place for Fadl Abbas and trained him. He was his mirror. He was his mirror. He trained him in his image. He wanted Haydar. The way that I was with Rasulullah, ya Abbas, you are supposed to be like this with Hussein. I need you to be there for Hussein in his mission. And Fadl Abbas, his whole life, knew what his mission was going to be, and he trained for that day. This most humble, courageous warrior was by the Imam's side throughout everything. Tonight, we dedicate our tears to Fadl Abbas, the one who didn't even want to be remembered next to the tragedy of Abu Abdullah, the one who did not want to be taken back to the camp. Everyone else was taken back to the camp after they were martyred. Abu Fadl Abbas had one request from Imam al-Hussein. Just one. Don't take me back to the camp. That's the place for your sons and the martyrs. Leave me here because I don't want Zainab to see me like this. I don't want Sukaina to see me like this, and I couldn't bring back the water. Even though he gave his whole life and sacrificed everything, that was his one request. Never thinking of himself, the epitome of brotherhood was Abbas. Tonight, we remember Abu Fadl Abbas. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When Muawiyah dies, and Yazid takes the throne. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam receives news of the death of Muawiyah. Now, in terms of the details of the treaty between Imam al-Hassan and Muawiyah, Imam al-Hussein is supposed to become the Khalifa automatically at the death of Muawiyah. Because Muawiyah himself, when he signed the treaty as the self-proclaimed Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he signed the treaty, the condition of the treaty was, if I am to die and you are to die, then the Khilafah will go to my brother Hussein. Muawiyah signed off on that. So as soon as Muawiyah dies, by the order of Muawiyah, no one else, Imam al-Hussein is supposed to become the Khalifa. I'm talking politically, I'm not even talking Imam. He was the Imam. Qama or Qa'ada, Imam, as the Prophet says. He's the Imam, whether you like it or not, he's the Imam. Regard him as the Imam or not, he's the Imam. But Khalifa, politically, he was supposed to be the successor. So when some people come and say that Imam Hussein rose up when he shouldn't have risen up, and this was a dispute, and Allah knows what would have happened, and may Allah forgive all the Sahaba, that is a ridiculous notion. Even by the order of Muawiyah, Imam Hussein was to be the Khalifa. He didn't rise up. Actually, Yazid is the one who spoke against the Khalifa of his time, not Imam, but politically speaking, that was his Khalifa based on his father's order. In any case, Imam Hussein is with Abdullah ibn Zubayr in Medina. He's in Medina with Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and he receives news in the middle of the night. Messengers send a letter to the governor of Medina. His name is Walid. Yazid sends him a letter saying, my father has died and I have now taken the Khilafah, and I want you to take the pledge of allegiance from Hussein ibn Ali. And if he doesn't give it to you, then you strike his neck. That was the letter that came from Damascus. Now Walid in Medina, he's the governor, he receives the letter and he becomes nervous because Imam al-Hussein was very famous in the Muslim Ummah. He was still regarded as the only son and the closest to the Prophet ﷺ. Everyone knew that. He was the Ahlul Bayt, he is the Itra. Everyone knew this. Shi'i, Sunni, doesn't matter. They all knew Hussein ibn Ali was Sayyid Shababi Ahl al-Jannah. Everyone knows that. And now he receives a letter saying, strike the neck of Sayyid Shababi Ahl al-Jannah. Walid didn't want to do that. But he was scared of Yazid, that if he doesn't uphold the order, he worries what will happen to him. So he sends a delegation in the middle of the night to go to Imam al-Hussein and tell him that he is to be called to the palace in Medina. The delegation goes to Imam al-Hussein. He was next to the shrine of Rasulullah with Abdullah ibn Zubayr. They come to Abu Abdullah, the delegation. They say, we have news for you. Abdullah ibn Zubayr says, in the middle of the night, what could be so urgent that you couldn't wait until morning? Abu Abdullah responds, the tyrant has died. He already knew. The tyrant has died, and it seems that they want to take our allegiance now before the morning. So then they read the letter. Muawiyah has died. Yazid has sent word that he wants to pledge of allegiance. Please come to the palace. So Abdullah ibn Zubayr says, I'm coming. And Abu Abdullah al-Hussein says, I'm coming. But Abdullah ibn Zubayr ends up going home, he packs his things, and then faraka. He ran away. He left in the middle of the night. Imam al-Hussein, alayhi salam, he doesn't leave. He's courageous like his father. He said he was going to the palace, he was going to the palace. But first he went to Abbas and the Banu Hashim. He gathered Abbas and his warriors and told them, we are going to the palace. I'm going to go inside. All of you remain outside. But if you hear my voice become loud, then you come inside. So Abbas said, no problem. They all walk to the palace and they take their swords, and all of them have their swords beneath their cloaks. Imam al-Hussein says, wait here, I'm going to go in alone. He walks into the palace. He stands in front of Walid. Walid tells him that you need to pledge allegiance to Yazid in order to avoid bloodshed. Imam al-Hussein says, Yazid wants the pledge of allegiance from me. Even though Yazid is a killer and a drunkard and a sinner, وَمِثْلِي لَا يُبَايَعْ مِثْلَهُ, and someone like me does not give bay'ah to someone like Yazid. Notice he says, someone like me and someone like Yazid, because in every time there's someone representing evil and there's someone on the right path, and we are supposed to be inspired by Abu Abdullah to be on the right path. So if anyone tells you you should not be inspired by Imam al-Hussein in Karbala today against the tyrants of the day, you say Imam al-Hussein said, مِثْلِي لَا يُبَيَّعْ مِثْلَهُ, someone like me does not give bay'ah to someone like him. And when he said that, a man that was next to Walid, that worked in the palace, Marwan, he said, if Hussein leaves this place without pledging allegiance, there will be a war. Strike his neck before he leaves. So Imam Hussein in a loud voice responds, who will strike my neck? Ya Mal'un, you will strike my neck, or will you strike my neck? If you want to strike my neck, come forward. When he raises his voice, Abu Fadl Abbas charges into the palace with the Banu Hashim behind him. All of them take their swords out and stand right in front of Imam al-Hussein. And Walid remains silent, and Marwan remains silent. And Imam al-Hussein then tells him, we are Ahlu Bayt al-Nubuwah. We are the family that the Risala was sent through. Know who you're talking to before your mouth opens again. They remained silent, and Abu Abdullah left the palace with the Banu Hashim with their heads held high, always their heads held high. They left the palace. Abu Abdullah decides, we have to leave Medina now. Yazid has declared war. Imam al-Hussein takes his caravan and they go to Mecca for a little while. Kufa, the people of Kufa start to send their letters in telling him, come back to Kufa. Kufa was the place, the center of your father. Come back to Kufa and we will make you victorious. We will give you the Khilafah. We follow you, we recognize you. Imam al-Hussein saw that he had Ansar in Kufa, people that were willing to stand up for what was right. And so Abu Abdullah was to respond to their letters. And so he told his caravan and his followers that they were going to Kufa, and he told the people to come with him. But slowly, he realized that those who were to come with him would slowly fall out and filter out, each one with their own excuse. He would talk to them. Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of the second Khalifa, he's told them, come with me. Abdullah looked at him and said, you know, if you go, they're going to kill you. We both know they're going to kill you. And everyone kept saying to Abu Abdullah, Ya Hussein, if you go, they're going to kill you. Don't trust. And Abu Abdullah would say, أعلم أنهم قاتلي ولكن لا بد من العراق. I know that I will be killed there. I know I will be killed. But there is no choice but to go to Iraq. No choice but to go to Kufa. And I'll explain why in a moment. Abdullah ibn Umar, you know what his response was? He told him, come with me. He said, show me your neck. And he kissed him. Goodbye. He was worried about him. He loved him. He kissed him. But after Karbala, he sends a letter pledging allegiance to Yazid. He wants to take care of himself. Ultimately, that's what the story was again and again and again. Imam al-Hussein would ask people around him, come with me. They would say, Mawlai, take my horse. I don't want your horse, I want you. Mawlai, take my money. I don't need your money, I want you. I have a wife, I have children. I can't come with you. Imam al-Hussein, he wanted them for his message. Why? Abu Abdullah knew. When people say, did he not know, what was he doing? He knew exactly what his destiny was. He kept having dreams. He kept seeing in his dreams canines attacking him. And there was one specific canine with black and white spots that would tear into his flesh, which was Shimr. When he saw him in Karbala, he said, you are the canine that I have been dreaming of. Abu Abdullah knew what was coming, but la budda min al-Iraq. Why? Imam Hussein was going because he had to make a stand here. This was different to Muawiyah's time. Muawiyah would want everyone to look at him as a believer. He tried to market himself as Amir al-Mu'mineen. But Yazid was straight nifaq, complete evil. Islam at that time had been completely corrupted. It needed something like the blood of Rasulullah in order for it to become alive again. These people were praying and then going to fight Abu Abdullah in Karbala. When people say that the Shia of Kufa are the ones who killed Imam Hussein, that's not correct. Why don't we say the Shia of Kufa were his Ansar in Karbala as well? Those that were with him, of his 72 to 100, well, a lot of them were from Kufa. So why don't we say Shia of Kufa made him victorious? They were very brave. Were there people from Kufa in the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad? Yes, there was. And Allah will deal with them. In Kufa, when Muslim ibn Aqil goes, he has many people that champion him. Then Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad comes into Kufa and he takes over through terrorism. And we all know what happens. There's a massacre and they kill Muslim ibn Aqil, the messenger of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Of the Shia in Kufa, many of them are imprisoned. Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, the courageous Mukhtar, is from Kufa. Why don't we say that Mukhtar is from Kufa? Why don't we admit that Mukhtar is from Kufa? Mukhtar is a Shia from Kufa, but he is imprisoned in a dungeon. Many of the Shia were imprisoned. Many of those that were in Kufa, the Kufans, ran away, and those who didn't were forced and told, if you don't join the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, then you and your families will be killed. That doesn't justify them joining the army. May Allah deal with them. But I'm explaining the situation. Those people were the ones at the back of the army. So the army against Imam Hussein was Umar ibn Sa'ad Shimr and the main battalion. Much of it came from Damascus, and there were many from Kufa. And then the ones at the back, most of them were Kufans, and they would pray for Abu Abdullah. Imam Hussein was calling, Hal min nasirin yansurna, and they would say, Ya Allah ansurhu. And they were in the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad. Does that mean the Shia killed Imam Hussein? No, it doesn't. Some people from Kufa were with Abu Abdullah, some were not with Abu Abdullah. Why don't we say there were Kufans that were so courageous that stood against 30,000? All from Kufa. Imam Hussein said, La budda min al-Iraq. Why? Because the Tashayyu', the Shi'ism of that time is not the Shi'ism of now. It was still incomplete. Kufa had lovers of Ahlul Bayt. Kufa was the place that loved Imam Ali alayhi salam. But it hadn't yet been complete in their Iman. In Medina and Mecca, there were not lovers of Ahlul Bayt like there were lovers in Kufa. Imam Hussein saw this, but he needed to complete their deen. And the only way to complete their deen was the love of Shahada that could only happen through the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah. You know, now when we look at our Tashayyu', so much of it is represented through Karbala. Imagine a Tashayyu' without Karbala. It's not yet complete. Imam Hussein knew that this stand was the stand that would cure Islam. There would be no Islam, no Sunni Islam, no Shia Islam if it wasn't for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Because Yazid was taking it over. And everyone agrees that Yazid was an imbecile. Everyone agrees this. No one says otherwise, unless he's an imbecile as well. Everyone knows this. So Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam knew that this was the fertile soil by which his blood would nourish. And when his blood nourishes this soil, the Shi'i is then complete as a lover of Ali bin Abi Talib and a lover of Abu Abdullah. And he has a sacrifice of Waqi'atul Taf that completes his identity. At the time when Islam had been corrupted, it needed this identity. So Imam al-Hussein, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Imam al-Hussein embarks upon his journey to Karbala, to Kufa first. His journey is towards Kufa. On the way, he is stopped by a man named Hur. Hur is with a small battalion at that time. He stops Abu Abdullah alayhi salam on his way and he tells him, I can't let you go past. The orders that have come are that I can't let you go. Imam Hussein tries to negotiate with Hur, but Hur doesn't allow. And so Abu Abdullah says, we have to set up camp. In that moment, Abu Abdullah could have fought Hur and fought that small army, but he doesn't begin the war. He defends, he doesn't begin the war. So Hur tells him, I'm sorry, we have to set up camp. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was the one who had control of the water. And he gave water for that army to drink. And he set up camp and they set up camp. Then he asks his companions, what land is this? And they say, this land is known as Al-Ghadiriyah. He said, is there another name for this land? What land is this? The companions say, it's known as Nainawa. Then he says once again, is there another name for this land? What land is this? And then someone says, Karbala. The land of Karb wa Bala. Imam Hussein says, that's the land. My father told me about this land. This is where we will be martyred. And this is where our women will be taken captives. Set up your camps and prepare yourselves. The Ahlul Bayt and the companions set up their camps and they prepare. And they are there for several days. Day by day, Imam Hussein's trying to negotiate with Hur in order to go through to Kufa, but they don't allow. And day by day, more and more of the army from Damascus and Kufa come, and the army grows from 5 to 10, 15, 20, by some accounts, 30,000. Now, they have the numbers. Imam Hussein's army is only between 72 to 100 warriors. Only. Those are the ones that came with him. 72 to 100 courageous warriors. They remain with Abu Abdullah to make a stand. On the 7th day, they had been cut off from water before the 10th. They had been cut off from water on the 7th day. They had been without water for 2 to 3 days. Most people don't know that they had been cut off from water earlier. When they were cut off from water, on the 7th day, the children began to scream. Al-Atash, Al-Atash. They are thirsty. Sukaina, the daughter of Imam al-Hussein, was thirsty. She came to her father and said, Father, I'm so thirsty. She went to Al-Fadl Abbas and said, Uncle, I'm so thirsty. So Imam al-Hussein went to Al-Fadl Abbas on the 7th day and said, Ya Abbas, can you retrieve water for the children? Al-Fadl Abbas said, of course, Mawlai. He said the word. He said, take the warriors and go bring back some water. This is a story within our reports. If you haven't heard it before, it's within our reports. It's not something that I'm bringing up to you from myself, because I know most people have not heard of this story. Al-Fadl Abbas goes to Ali al-Akbar. He tells him, you take the left battalion, I'll take the right battalion. There are 100 of them, and they move towards the river bank. The warriors of Umar ibn Sa'ad were in front of the river. Al-Fadl Abbas sends a man named Nafi'. He says, Nafi', go and ask if you can retrieve water. Nafi' goes, he says, can I have water? They say, yes. He said, I can take water? You can take water. Then he said, can I put water in a container and take it back to Imam al-Hussein? They say, no. You can drink, but Hussein can't drink. Why can't Hussein drink? He said, because Hussein is a son of Ali. The son of Ali is not allowed to drink. The children of Ali are not allowed to drink. They had hatred for Imam Ali alayhi salam. Nafi' responded, Ya Mal'oon, you want me to drink, but you won't let my master drink? He goes back to Al-Fadl Abbas. Al-Fadl decides they're going to attack. he will take the right battalion, Abu Ali al-Akbar on the left battalion, and they left a group of warriors in the middle. As the right and left pushed the enemy warriors away and they were battling them, this was the first battle in Karbala. The first battle was not on the Ashir, it was on the 7th. They pushed them away. The group in the middle would go into the river and fill up the water containers, and they came back to the camp with the water. Abu Fadl Abbas came back to the camp with so many water containers and let all the children drink. That's why they called him a Saqi. That's why when Sukaina asked him on the 10th day, she had hope because he did it before. So she thought he was going to do it this time. Shimr bin Diljawshan, he thought he could negotiate with Abu Fadl Abbas because he was related to him from his mother's side. He told them, wait, let me go speak to him. Let me try to bring him to our side. He went to Abu Fadl Abbas and said, would you come with me, you and your brothers? You don't have to be with this camp. Your end is martyrdom. Abu Fadl Abbas said, this is my day. I was born for this day. Never speak to me again. He sent him back. Abu Fadl Abbas returns to the tent. He stands next to Abu Abdullah. When he had Abu Fadl Abbas next to him, he felt everything was going to be okay. That he didn't have to bear the responsibility of everything by himself. That when the warriors were falling in front of Abu Abdullah, he still had Abu Fadl Abbas next to him. He was watching with him. When Ali Akbar alayhi salam goes into the battlefield, Abu Fadl Abbas is watching with him. He carries the corpses with him. He comes back. They always come back 2 horses. They always go 2 horses, come back 2 horses. Only when Abu Fadl Abbas was martyred, can you imagine what Imam Hussein felt walking back with 2 horses by himself? 2 horses and 1 rider. This time there is no Abu Fadl Abbas, my brother, my general, my whole army in one person. Wasn't with him that time when he came back. With 2 horses, by himself. No one left to bear the burden with him.
صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله. On the morning of Ashura, the companions went to fight one by one. Imam al-Hussein would watch as they would be struck down in love of him. Abu Fadl al-Abbas would see the companions going to defend his brother. He would clench his fists and he would ask, Mawlai, do you give me permission to go out and fight, to defend the family of Rasulullah al-Haydar al-Karrar? My father brought me up for this day. Mawlai, this is what I was born for. Can I go and defend you, Ya Aba Abdullah? Ya Abbas, I don't give you permission to go and fight. You are the flag bearer of our army. As long as you stand, we stand. As long as you stand, the flag is held high. Ya Abbas, you remain by my side. Abu Fadl al-Abbas lowers his head and says, as you wish, Ya Mawlai. After all the companions had been martyred, it was time for the Banu Hashim. Abu Fadl al-Abbas stands up once again and Hussein goes, no, Ya Abbas, it's not time for you. It's time for Ali al-Akbar. Ya Ali, go and defend your family. Ali al-Akbar goes out to fight. Abu Fadl Abbas watches as his nephew is slaughtered in the battlefield. He watches as one by one his brothers are slain. He even dresses Qasim in armor that is larger than his body, and gives him a sword and watches the son of Imam al-Hassan go out to fight. One by one, Imam al-Hussein and Abu Fadl al-Abbas would go out to the battlefield together and would take back the bodies to the camps. And now there was no one left. Only two men stood in Karbala, Hussein and Abbas, the sons of Ali bin Abi Talib, against the whole army by themselves. And the children scream out, Allah Tosh, Allah Tosh. The children are crying from thirst. The children speak to Sukaina, because Sukaina would have a special relationship with Uncle Abbas. Uncle Abbas never returns my requests. So Sukaina leaves the tent. She goes to Abu Fadl. Amma Abbas, I'm so thirsty. Abu Fadl Abbas felt so much pain in his heart. He kisses Sukaina on her head. Don't worry, my dear. I will bring you back water like I did before. He goes to Abu Abdullah. Mawlai, with your permission, may I go and retrieve water? With your permission, may I go retrieve water for the thirsty children? Sukaina's voice is hurting me, Mawlai. Abbas. Abu Abdullah responds, Abbas, go and retrieve the water for the children. Bring back the water. Abu Fadl finally has permission. He walks back to the tent. All the children run towards him. They grab his legs. They grab his shirt. Allah Tosh, Allah Tosh. And Zainab comes forward and sees Abbas and looks him in the eyes. He looks shy in front of Zainab. He doesn't want to say goodbye. He tells her, my beloved sister, I'm just going to bring back water. She says, Ya Abbas, everyone who left didn't come back. You've been with me since you were a child, and now you are my protector. Make sure you come back, a reminder of my father. He embraces Zainab close to his chest. He kisses the children on their heads, and he leaves the camp. And he looks at Imam al-Hussein, and Hussein looks back. And they don't say a word. Abu Fadl mounts his horse. He charges into the battlefield to go towards the river. And Al-Abbas ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, the enemy is tried to block him from gaining access to the riverbank. Anyone who stood his way was struck down immediately. No one could stand in front of the power of Abu Abbas until he is the only man who reaches the river. The enemies disperse. Abbas is in front of the water. He unmounts his horse. The voices of the children are in his head. Finally, I reach the water. He puts his hands into the water. He feels the cold on his palms. He lifts the water in his palms up to his face. He looks into his reflection. And he throws the water back into the river. Ya nafs min ba'd al-Husayn huni. Oh nafs, how can you drink if your thirsty master cannot drink? How can you quench your dry throat if Sukaina is still thirsty? La wallah, that is not the son of Ali. I will not drink if the children cannot drink. I will not drink before my master Hussein. Abu Fadil fills the water container. He mounts his horse. He sees the camp in front of him. He looks towards the tents. All he thinks of is getting to the tents. He charges the horse, and the horse moves swiftly on the way to the tents. And the enemies were hiding behind the trees, waiting for Abu Fadl to pass. And as he passes, they begin to chase him. Abu Fadl going towards the camps. The enemy is coming from all angles, and all he thinks is to get to the tents. They try to block him, he strikes them down, going towards the tents until a Mal'un strikes his sword onto the arm of Abbas. And Abbas's arm is cut. It's on the ground, and the blood spills all over his horse. Abu Fadl does not stop. He looks towards the camps. He keeps charging towards the tents, holding the water container and the flag. Another man strikes his sword onto his other arm. Abu Fadl is without arms. A man strikes his head with a pole. Abu Fadl falls to the ground without any arms. He gets back up on his legs. He tries to gather himself. The flag is on the ground. He scurries to the water container to hold it towards his chest. I have to get the water to the camp until an arrow, the arrow that breaks Abbas's heart, an arrow pierces the water container, and the water spills onto the ground, and Abbas stops. The first time he stops, he just looks at the water spilling on the ground, and he looks up at the tent, drenched in blood, out of breath. In that moment, an arrow pierces his eye, and the enemies begin to attack him from all angles. As he falls to the ground, he calls out, Assalamu alaikum ya Mawla ya Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein charges towards Abu Fadl. The enemy is dispersed. Hussein unmounts his horse. He follows the puddles of blood. As he approaches a mutilated and cut to pieces Abbas. As he approaches him step by step, Abbas, blinded, cannot see, no eyes, no arms. He says with his last breaths, "Oh man approaching me, give me time to see my brother, Master Hussein." Abu Abdullah responds, "Ya Abbas, it's me, Ya Habibi." Abbas doesn't respond. Hussein sits next to Abbas. He takes his head slowly. He puts it in his lap. Abbas removes his head back onto the ground. Imam al-Hussein tries to take him again. "Ya Abbas, speak to me. Why won't you let me take your head in my lap?" Abu Fadl responds, "Mawlai, Master Hussein, how can my head be in your lap when I am no longer here and you are on your own? Mawlai, where will your head be? I don't want comfort if you won't have comfort, Mawlai." Imam al-Hussein's tears begin to shed. And he says, "Abbas, before you leave, I have a request from you." Abbas responds, "Before you ask me, Mawlai, please let me tell you my request. Don't take me back to the tent. Sukaina is still thirsty, Mawlai. Zainab is thirsty, Mawlai. I don't want them to see me this way. The martyrs are in the tents, but leave me here, Mawlai." So Abu Abdullah says, "I won't take you back, Ya Abbas. Now will you grant me my request? Sayyidi wa Mawlai ya Hussein, tell me, I will do whatever you want of me." He says, "Abbas, for once in your life, call me your brother, not your master. Let me hear that in your voice, Ya Habibi, Ya Abbas." With his final words, Abu Fadl calls out, "Assalamu alayka ya akhi. Assalamu alayka ya akhi, ya madloom, ya Hussein. Goodbye, my brother." And with that, Abbas took his last breath, and Imam al-Hussein watched as Abbas couldn't speak anymore. الآن انكسر ظهري. My back has now been broken. As Abbas wished, Imam al-Hussein stood up. He takes both horses back to the camp. One man with two horses, and Zainab waits in the camps. She sees Abu Abdullah's face. أخي يا حسين, where is Abbas?